Hey everybody, this is my list of top underrated films of 2015. To me, list videos were always my favorite to get, and they always got me introduced to new movies that I probably would have never picked without seeing their list. I have 4 movies that I picked that are underrated, and they are in order about how strongly I feel about these movies and not necessarily how underrated they are. So, what makes a film underrated? For this video, it's going to be movies that mainstream reviewers on YouTube, like Chris Stuckman and Schmoes Know or Rotten Tomato websites, and they've rated these movies particularly low, or they're written off just completely as just trash movies. They're not going to necessarily be movies that are God tier, Citizen Kane caliber or anything, but just movies that I enjoyed throughout the year that the mainstream opinion overlooked. So I know there's probably going to be some indie movies that are way more underrated than these, but I don't go to fucking film festivals, and I don't see every indie right away when they come out. So eventually, this list will change, or I will see more underrated movies in the future. Okay, so the first movie that I'm going to talk about is Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. This movie got absolutely shit on by the internet, and it's a shame, because it's a fun light comedy with a coming-of-age kind of feel to it. I think people just associated it with the annoying inflation of zombie movies in TV and other forms of media. Me personally, I just have a thing for coming-of-age movies. And I actually have a funny story of how I saw this movie. I walked out of a Bridge of Spies showing and left my friends because I was just so bored by that movie. No one needs to see Bridge of Spies. It's basically To Kill a Mockingbird, except without a black guy. It's a Soviet communist. I get it, due process is important, but I don't need a movie to tell me that. But that's not the point of this video. So I walked out of Bridge of Spies to see Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse in a theater by myself, and I had a blast. It's a fun movie, probably recommended for a less mature audience. And I would recommend it to watch with friends, a late night Netflix kind of deal. Okay, so the next film on my list is Spectre. Alright, maybe this movie's not, wasn't completely shit on by critics or anything, but it only has a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's probably rated properly, but in my opinion, it's loads better than Skyfall, and everybody's comparing it to Skyfall, so they're definitely rating it lower because of that comparison. And to me, Spectre was the first time I actually saw Daniel Craig as my Bond. I never felt Daniel Craig really fit the Bond character correctly. I always saw him in Casino Royale and Skyfall as just another action star, not necessarily Bond. And in Skyfall, he really does not feel like Bond except the introduction fight on the train. He barely really fights, he barely does anything swag. And in Spectre, he is Bond. And holy God. There is the intro to Spectre. There is an amazing long take scene. It goes on, I don't really remember, but probably about like 2 minutes long. Maybe probably like 5 minutes. I don't even remember. But there's a really long take scene, and it takes place in Mexico City. And it's just a brilliant scene. And it's not a perfect movie by any means, but I really prefer the classic Bond direction rather than the gritty Bond of Skyfall who doesn't do anything. Also, Dave Bautista's Jaws-like villain is really cool, and the hand-to-hand combat between him and Bond is actually very well done, with a lot of wide shots, and it makes the movie feel like it has more of a classic feel to it. So, the next movie I'm going to talk about is Tomorrowland. I actually just had an argument with one of my coworkers about this movie who absolutely hated it. But I think it's a brilliant, light movie with subtly dark, but yet optimistic undertones. I think many people are missing the point of this movie. So, I mean, if you've seen this movie, you remember the scene where the girl in the class, the main character in the class, and all her teachers are telling her about her future. They bring up global warming, nuclear war, overpopulation, and all that stuff the media always portrays. And then she raises her hand, and then she says, "So, what are we going to do about it?" So that's the whole point of the movie. It's asking us, what happened to the optimism from the 1969 World Fair, and where did it all go, and why do we always talk about the negatives of the way things are going to be in the future and not doing anything about it? it's asking us what happened to the optimism that we had in the 1950s about tomorrow or the future, and in this case it's called Tomorrowland. What happened to all that creativity, flying cars, jetpacks? What happened to those ideas? Anytime we talk about the future, it's always about global warming, all catastrophes. It's a dim future. So I felt like this movie really sparked something in me, and I was like, you know what? I'm one of those people. I always think the future is not looking too bright. The future is going to have more corruption, more disasters. But really, why can't it's really in ourselves to just try to make ourselves have a better future and think more optimistically and think more positively? So that's the message I got out of it. Alright, so the last movie that I'm going to talk about is Chappie, directed by Neil Blomkamp. I don't know how to say his name. But this movie is really underrated. I am probably going to make a separate analysis kind of video about this. It seems like everybody wants to compare this to the director's earlier works in District 9 and Elysium. And they wanted Chappie to have some more liberal agenda like those two movies. With District 9 being about like segregation, Elysium being about healthcare and immigration. But Chappie, it's not a political movie at all. I don't know what people were seeing in this movie. I know I watched Chris Stuckman's review, and he said that he wanted to see more of the Indian guy, Patel, and Hugh Jackman's character struggling for power and having a political movie. Yeah, that part of the movie, it's awful, but he wanted to see more of that. So I don't know. I don't know why he wanted to see. He was disappointed that he wanted to see more of the political and power struggles between the two. That would just make it such a normal movie. This movie, in my opinion, is so unique with the idea of a robot being raised by gangsters. I just find that hilarious. Chappie is born innocent and afraid, but when he learns how to act by these absolutely awful people, like these people are just absolutely awful, but I found them hilarious. They're played by the band Die Antwoord, and I think a lot of people also didn't like that casting choice. I never knew who they were before I saw the movie, so I thought they were an interesting casting choice. I didn't know that they were a band. And I thought that they were just funny, trashy people that worked for the movie, and that was the point. So I think many people were just expecting something different out of this. I personally think I wasn't expecting anything. Came in with an open mind, and I just had a good time with this. I really liked Die Antwoord, those characters. I thought that they were funny. It had more of a comedic aspect to the movie, rather than just a serious action movie with political power struggles. I don't know. Maybe I like this film so much because I saw it at the right time. I saw Ex Machina before I saw this movie, and Ex Machina is a brilliant movie. It's not underrated though. So I was into AI at the time, and Chappie, it's not that much about AI, but it really sparked my imagination about AI and what is consciousness and what is the difference between human consciousness and computer code. But Chappie is definitely underrated and definitely worth a watch if you have an open mind. So this is my top underrated movies list of 2015. And thanks for watching. I am the unpopular opinion. So please like and subscribe, comment your thoughts. Tell me what you think are the most underrated movies of 2015. Thank you.